Coming up tonight, Grand Bahama welcomes some 61 passengers on American Eagle's inaugural flight from Charlotte, North Carolina. There's some tropical trouble here in November. We have a little update on what's going on out there in the tropics coming up. And give us Barabbas. Well, his Junkanoo World Tours anyway. All the details straight ahead in our arts and entertainment segment. This is Our News, a weekend edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. Grand Bahama doing it in grand style yesterday, welcoming some 61 passengers on American Eagle's inaugural flight from Charlotte, North Carolina. This much-needed airlift to the island, a result of months of promoting the island by the Ministry of Tourism. The sounds of goatskin drums and vibrant Bahamian costumes greeting guests on American Eagle's first flight back to Grand Bahama. Minister for Grand Bahama Ginger Moxie greeting visitors with some cool Goombay punch and a friendly smile. She shares why she felt it important to welcome the tourists.
We want them to know how much we welcome them to Grand Bahama Island. It is the first flight from Charlotte, and we want, of course, it to increase. And so we want the visitors, when they come here, to just feel the love, feel the heritage, be immersed in our communities and in our culture. And Junkanoo is our culture, and you know I love Junkanoo. And so we just wanted them to have this warm welcome.
And despite misconceptions, Moxie says there is lots to do on the Northern Island.
In partnership, in collaboration with tourism, the Ministry for Grand Bahama is working hard to continue to promote Grand Bahama as a touristic center. And we want people to know that there's so much to do on this island. You know, there's so many hidden gems. And I believe that the people who are here today are going to be able to experience that.
Manager for Grand Bahamas Tourism Office, Nuvi Chodo Singh, says the inaugural arrival marks the culmination of months of hard work by the executive team to ensure that Grand Bahama is welcoming airlift out of major hubs.
Charlotte is a major airline hub out of the United States, and so to get a flight out of there, particularly with an airline like American Airlines, you know, that puts somebody from, say, the Midwest directly into Charlotte, and then Charlotte directly to Grand Bahama, and that's phenomenal. And so I must congratulate the executive team, the Honorable Minister Chester Cooper, and the entire team doing a wonderful job. And there's more to come, as Minister Moxie would have mentioned to you. So we're looking forward to those things happening, and much, much more on Grand Bahama Island.
He says more airlift is on the way in the coming weeks.
We have a flight coming out of, an inaugural flight coming out of Raleigh with Bahamas Air, and we also have Sunwing coming out of Canada. So those are two major components that will add airlift, additional airlift to Grand Bahama Island out of those major markets for us. So we're looking forward to those things happening later this month. November 17th will be Bahamas Air, and next month, December 17th or so, 23rd, around there for the Sunwing flight out of Canada.
Longtime visitors Charlie and Laurie Wooden say they've been visiting the island every year since 2012. Originally from Boston, they say they love the new connection through Charlotte and the warm welcome.
Oh, it was great. We didn't know the band was going to be there.
I know. It was a nice welcome.
Yeah, we travel quite a bit around the island. We, rent a car and go all over the place.
Yep.
So it was sad to see the destruction and
when we were here last
time, but.
And what are your plans here while you're here?
Just vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relaxing.
We walk the beaches a lot. We travel all over the island, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just relaxation pretty much.
White Ribbon Day was observed on November 1st. The annual observance is a global movement of men working together to end male violence against women and girls, while Senator Michaela Barnett Ellis says it is her hope that here in the Bahamas, leaders across the country understand that the day is more than wearing a white ribbon.
I hope coming out of Wednesday, we hear plans from the government to either bring the amendment to the Sexual Offences Act, because as you know, marital rape is a form of domestic violence. I hope to hear some plans from the government in terms of what they are going to do and what steps they are going to take to combat domestic violence.
At the Anglican Synod held just a few weeks ago, Anglican Bishop of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, Leish Boyd, said rape is not an act of love. He said no person should be subject to degrading and violent behavior. His comments were the first from the head of a major denomination in the country. This week, Bishop Boyd explained why he felt it was necessary to share his position.
Well, it is an issue that's important. It's an issue about which there needs to be not just greater awareness, but greater sensitivity. It is an issue that evokes perhaps some negative reactions from more conservative elements of our society, and I'm talking about conservative in terms of thinking and outlook. And what better place to raise positive awareness of such an important issue than there?
And he said making the comments at Synod will cause more dialogue to occur.
We just have to be aware of these issues, discuss them, recognize that in our society there are many vulnerable groups, many groups whose causes may not be known, whose circumstances may not be out there, but we need to let all groups know that we are concerned about them and that we are looking for not only their well-being, but for justice and fairness across the societies of ours, the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands.
With the murder count ballooning over the 100 number mark in the past few weeks, one may wonder whether that has had an impact on the morgue's capacity. This week, Princess Margaret Hospital officials consecrated the morgue, which was recently renovated to the tune of some $500,000+ At the event, Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville was asked about whether the murder count has had any impact on the morgue's storage capacity.
Anyone who is shot or killed as a result of some violent act or some event usually is a coroner's case, and all coroner's case must come through our morgue facility. Yes, we have the capability to handle such cases, and we have the necessary professional staff in order to guide forensic as well as the Royal Bahamas Police Force in the necessary crime factors so that if a case goes to court, the coroner as well as those who are involved in law enforcement will be able to be a part of the prosecution.
Straight ahead on Our News Weekend Edition, tropical trouble in November. Wicked weather is on the way. Defense Force is on high alert and has canceled all leave just in case. And as we remember our veterans just ahead of Veterans Day, the British Legion Bahamas branch laid wreaths at the Veterans Graveyard, remembering the soldiers who have gone on before. The details are straight ahead on the Weekend Edition. November 11th is Remembrance Day for our Bahamian veterans, but the British Legion Bahamas branch held an intimate service Saturday morning at the Bahamas Veterans Cemetery to start the big week's events. Our Marlena Leonard has the story.
Members of the British Legion Bahamas branch, descendants of veterans, and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force gathered at the Bahamas Veterans Cemetery on Infant View Road yesterday morning to pay their respects to our country's war heroes. Chairman of the British Legion Bahamas branch, Adina Munro-Charlo, told us more about the tradition of remembering those who fought in the great wars of the 20th century.
It's very important. The Bahamas is a part of the Commonwealth, and all Commonwealth countries and British Legion branches. On this day, we go to our various cemeteries to pay respects. And the British Legion is 101 years old. And this tradition has occurred 101 times. And so we are just following that very great military tradition.
The British Legion Bahamas branch is the caretaker of our country's remaining veterans and the widows of the fallen. Their poppy sales help to cover the costs of pensions and grocery deliveries to those under their care. And yesterday's service is just the beginning of this week's Remembrance events.
We always open our Veterans Month by paying respects and laying of wreaths. And then it follows to our cenotaph respects on Sunday the 13th of November, where they would have the Mass at Christ Church Cathedral and then the laying of wreaths at the cenotaph.
But the service wasn't just for our 20th century war veterans, Munro-Charlo tells us.
We have 7 wreaths today, and a very special one for the slain Royal Bahamas Defense Force Petty Officer Paul, and he was killed in the line of duty. And so we have invited the Defense Force to join us today for that special wreath-laying ceremony.
Chairman Munro-Charlo's ties to the British Legion have deep roots, and she hopes to be able to pass on the responsibility and the care to future generations.
I am the daughter of a World War II veteran, and he was able to pass this down to me, and now we are carrying on the tradition. I also have grandsons now who I am training, and hopefully it will go on and on into the future.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
And poppies are out in many of our local grocery stores, pharmacies, and island administrators' offices. And this year, the British Legion Bahamas branch is highlighting a special group of Bahamian heroes, according to Chairman Adina Munro-Charlo.
This year, the British Legion is focusing on the female platoons who served. A lot of Bahamians do not know that our Bahamian women served in World Wars I and II. Those in World War II, we had 24 women, and they were able to put in their service during World War II. As clerical workers, lorry truck drivers, and also auto mechanics.
And there's one group in particular Munro-Charlo is hoping to see proudly wearing their poppies.
We are focusing on our females so that the Bahamas would know that we were there 100 years ago and we were there 77 years ago. And so every woman should buy a poppy in respect to all of those women who are pioneers for our military history.
When Our News comes back from the break, we are still in hurricane season. We are not out of the woods yet, and something wicked this way comes. Stay tuned for the weather forecast. And the University of the Bahamas holds its first International Creole Day. We have the details when Our News Weekend edition returns. University of the Bahamas held its first Bahamian and Haitian Creole Heritage, a celebration of International Creole Day proposed by UNESCO in 1983. This festival is an addition to a series of events celebrating Creole Day, particularly on October 28th in places like Seychelles and Mauritius and several Caribbean countries. UB's Dr. Marquis Jean-Pierre, professor of French and Haitian Creole, Dr. Anne Uleton, professor of history, and Dr. Kendra Shanti Seymour, professor of English and linguistics, presented on Bahamian and Haitian culture and language. Dr. Jean-Pierre explains the push to celebrate the day now.
At the University of the Bahamas, we found it unnecessary to celebrate this day, the International Creole Day, and we focused it on Bahamian and Haitian Creole heritage. It is a way to recognize the Creole language, the Creole culture that both communities share.
He also shares plans for more cultural and linguistic events from the university.
During the spring, we organize a full foreign language weekend event, but it is based more on academic reflection on language, on multilingualism, plurilingualism, to call people's attention to the importance of learning language. Regardless of your major, you can learn several languages.
The Governor General will host several activities this month as a part of Volunteer Month. Activities include a Volunteer Day on November 19th, an award ceremony at the University of the Bahamas on the 22nd, and an essay competition under the theme No Longer Me, But We, that launches this Tuesday. It all begins with the church service held earlier today at St. Agnes. Community Vice Chairman Anthony Newbold hopes the activities will get more young people involved in worthy causes.
We're talking about inculcating, inspiring, encouraging volunteerism. Well, we need to get the young people if we're going to inculcate and do it at a young age. It's something that young people could get involved with. You get to interact with your peers, you get to meet new people, and from people who've been volunteering for years, including myself, you get a special sense of fulfillment. You've done something to help your community.
Hurricane Dorian, the story of the greatest and deadliest hurricane of the modern era, is set for release 3 years after hurricane historian Wayne Neely began writing it. In an exclusive interview, Neely is telling us what we can expect to find inside.
I'm going to give you from the experts throughout the world about the impact of hurricanes and climate change from the experts, the top experts. I have Dr. Max Mayfield, who wrote the foreword for me. I have Kerry Manuel from a friend of mine at MIT, Chris Lancey, who actually documents all the hurricanes of the North Atlantic for the National Hurricane Center. The best part of the chapter would be the personal recollections of the persons who experienced those storms on Abaco and Grand Bahama. And you're going to hear heart-wrenching stories. Some of them, they were never told in the media. And I include them all in the recollection section of the book. So it's well worth the wait, and it's well worth the read.
This latest book is Neely's 15th literary piece, and Neely says this book's journey took 3 times as long as normal for his writing process.
32 years I've been traveling a lot recently. I've been a lot of research. Most of my work now is concentrated on research, and so I've been written books from 2003. I've been writing books, and every year I publish a book. The exception of Dorian. Dorian was a 3-year journey. It's going to be locally at the bookstores. It's going to be at Logos and the Harbour Bay Shopping Center, and it's going to be online. If you person who buy it from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or any of the online books, is going to be available on those online portals. You're going to get it. It's going to be available as an ebook, which is what most of the younger persons are buying now. It's going to be available as a hardback and what we call a soft cover.
And coming up on Our News Weekend Edition, something wicked this way comes. Weather-wise, stay vigilant. The weather report is on the way. And we said give us Barabbas. Well, Barabbas of Junkanoo World anyway. He has the Junkanoo Tour just for you. That's coming up when Our News Weekend Edition returns. November 30th marks the end of the Atlantic hurricane season, and now is not the time to let our guards down. The National Hurricane Center is reporting an area of low pressure located more than 200 miles north of Puerto Rico is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. That system is forecasted to develop into a tropical or subtropical storm by midweek. This means that there is an increasing risk of coastal flooding, tropical storm force winds, rough surf, and heavy rainfall by the middle part of this week. To this end, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force has canceled all leave for all officers effective immediately. All personnel are to report to their respective posts on Monday morning. It is important to note that at this time, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology has not issued any warnings on this system. However, the National Emergency Management Agency will hold a press conference tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. on this system. And now, here's a look at your weather forecast for the week ahead. It's just about that time of year, the return to Bay. But if you can't wait until Boxing Day or New Year's Day, there is an exciting tour at Junkanoo World that can surely satisfy all of your Junkanoo needs. Proprietor Quentin Barabbas Woodside says he was inspired to open the Junkanoo Museum and tour after countless tourists expressed a desire to see the beautiful costumes year-round.
We've been to Bahamas. We didn't see no Junkanoo. We come to visit you, there's no Junkanoo. So, you know what? I say, you know what? I can create a museum. When they come to the Bahamas, they can come down, eat some comforter, drink some Golic beer, and taste it and touch it, and have the great experience of this Junkanoo.
The veteran Junkanooer has great connections in the industry and says all of his pieces are donated.
They know I'm coming to Bay Street. I'm gonna look for a good piece, and sometime I sponsor the young boys them who have off the shoulders, and they will donate the pieces to me. And like this brother here, he's from the Saxons. Anton Dane, he normally look out for me a lot. That's the leader, one of the leaders of the Saxons. That's Tones. So you know, he would say, "Oh, I hope you have some space, because I have a beautiful one for you."
And if you're curious as to how they preserve the colorful and creative pieces,
we just have our duster and we dust it off. This one here. This is a Goombay Festival one. We just have our dust and dust them off, and that's how we preserve them. And with the headpieces, what we do, we will change out the cushion every so often, so it can be freshly done. And so when the guests put it on, you know, the Kawaii sweat now, guests put it on, so it could be nice and clean for the guests. So that's how we preserve them.
A mentor at heart, Barabbas says he also employs young men in the community to ensure that they stay on the right path.
I'll target that one who wants to go behind that young man selling a half bag or whatever. So this is how I catch them. I say, if you could head this drum for me, this little gallon drum for me, I'll give you $5. So they say, what? Is that easy? So I get the machine and teach them how to do that, and they will head the drums. And the next one I say, all right, you go down by the bamboo shack or the 30s and you bring me those cans, and every can you bring me, I'll give you $2. So, and then it catch on. We have a young crew who will tidy up in here every day. And that's all. And they get paid just for tidying up in here. And we're looking right now for a couple more staff to hire right now. Normally young children, because they say there's no job out there, but we could hire with 6 young children right now, making over $250 a week, maybe 4 or 5 hours a day.
Once guests are on property, they are given a full history of the amazing cultural expression. They are then free to tour the museum. And then the interactive part.
So we get them in warm, and then they learn how to beat the drum, the bass. So we'll be the rhythm. Let them know about the 55 gallon. All right. Yeah, we have some tourists going to join us right now. Come on in and join us. Come on. And get the cowbell right on time and show them how to ring the cowbells. Come and sit down with me. I'm going to show you how to beat this drum right now and ring the cowbells.
Definitely a fun experience. And we thank you so much for joining us for Our News Weekend Edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepherd. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend.